All right, you know what? I'm gonna take your question. Councilman Hernandez.
Did I?
You just don't like June.
Let's go with Tejano Day.
Councilman Hernandez, you have the floor.
I forgot my question.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
You forgot his question.
Okay, basically, we're just gonna trade one day for the.
Yes.
Net
Net
one,
one day and we're
ask
asking
one
for
day
2
in.
So we're taking off President's Day
Yes.
for Juneteenth.
No, for the New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve was 1 day. We're asking for 2 days for New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Juneteenth is for all the people.
And Juneteenth
Okay.
is for the additional holiday if the council grants.
What was that again, sir?
Meaning, we're taking off President's Day, which we were traditionally given off. And we're asking to take that off and substitute the New Year's Eve a 2-day weekend.
Okay, so you're asking just to move that date to the year.
And to add Juneteenth.
Yes, for the people.
Juneteenth, if it happens, great. If not, that's.
I'll make a motion
We were-
to,
There's already a motion.
Okay.
You can second me.
There is a motion to approve what's in the agenda, which is, approval of the holiday schedule, which is, as we just read.
I'll second
That's the
that.
motion. There is a second. Now, is there any questions?
None.
no.
Or you can make a motion if it dies.
Well, I gotta go on this
No, I'm
motion.
just telling Mr.
There's a
Bouillon.
motion, there's a second. You can vote against it, you can vote for it. Are there any other questions? Hearing
For.
none, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand, please.
Or,
I'm against.
Against.
Okay, I can break the tie, I'm. Okay. Thank you, guys. Did you catch that? Yeah, okay. All right, moving on, thank you, Council, appreciate you, babe. Moving on to item K, discuss and consider setting a date, time, and place for a public hearing on a request for conditional use permit for Jorge and Petra Ayala. You have a copy of that. And guys, all this is just setting a public hearing. I think we have some conversation to hold on allowing mobile homes into our community. So, this isn't affirming or denying, this is just simply setting a date to hear this. Crystal, you have a comment?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. As you see from the memo, the date of publication, if it's set today, would be set for September 30th. So the actual public hearing would have to take place on or after October 30th. That is a Saturday. So I did not recommend a date this time around, only because the week after the 30th is November 2nd, starts on a Monday, but you have a regular meeting on the 9th, the following week.
And council, I'm just gonna recommend that we go with our regular meeting and add that to the agenda.
yeah. So it needs to be published on September 30th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, we can bring it back to our regular meeting on November 9th?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
there's no other questions, I would like to go ahead and consider setting September 30th for publication and setting the date for the hearing on November 9th at our regular, city council meeting for the request for conditional use permit for George and Petra Ayala.
Okay,
Second.
thank you very much. There's a motion on the table. May I have a second? There's a second by Councilwoman Hernandez.
Is this gonna include the address too for that, with the conditional permit?
Yeah, that would be in the paper.
And then I wanted to know, what was the normal process, like the time, because we've been asking for this since July.
So we have met with them numerous times. There was some information that was lacking. We do now have a site plan as to where their septic is going to be placed. That was something that was lacking that we needed. And also, I believe it was easement information as well. In the beginning, they brought a survey, and we requested a plat. So that was a little bit of a holdup. We've worked around that, me and Mr. Reyes, but we've got everything finalized finally. We have everything we need. The issuance of the address, that will come from Mr. Reyes, that does not come from me. That's something he works on. So, and he's got it figured out.
I'll share some of the relevant issues, council, as we've talked about with some addressing and issues we've had, as far as development and I know that it seems the addressing seems like it shouldn't be hard, but it is an issue. I do want to, at the very least, bring it to your attention. And that'll be, as part of the hearing, that'll be part of the discussion.
So that, there's a motion and a second on the table to publish on September 30th, to bring it to the council on November the 9th. There's a motion and a second. Any other questions?
Aye.
Now we call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That'll be heard on November the 9th.
On when?
November the 9th at the regular scheduled meeting.
And my question is there a possible for it to be any sooner? Because right now we're staying in Dilley, so we have, animals here, so we have to come and go every day, like 2 or 3 times a day. It's getting costly for us, like, it's been since July.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything on our part, we try to provide it as soon as, whenever they ask us for something, we try to bring all the requirements. And I feel like not enough action has been taken. And, for us, it's a need for us. We can't be going every day like this for 2 more months, We want to try to make it sooner.
Yes, ma'am, I hear you, and I'm certainly sorry for the difficulty that you've experienced. Some of those have been explained as to why. We do have to publicize it, we're required to do that, which we'll do right away. And it is not, unfortunately, I know it's time, it's not too much, but it's about 5 weeks away, and that's as close as we can do it. That's as soon as we can do that. So we will put it on the November the 9th agenda.
And what would be the process after that?
I'm sorry.
What's the process after that?
Well, it'll be voted to be
Voted on.
approved or not approved.
Yeah, excuses, because, we're new to the city, we're new to this process, and that's why we have that.
Okay, yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mayor, may I say a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to go ahead and apologize. I know we've had some issues with information and especially with the mobile home. Right now, what we've been trying to do is get everything together. With this timeline, it's done by the state, and we have to follow the dates. So I would like to apologize on everything that you've gone through, but I also want to welcome you here. And as soon as we come here on November 9th, if your trailer gets approved, then it's all yours at that time. If it gets denied, then, there's appeals and everything else that you can follow. But at that time, I just want to sit and welcome you to Pearsall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, item L, discuss brush disposal fees and related matter. Mr. Reyes?
Yes, Mayor, Council, what I put in your packet is an old ordinance from 2009, and it speaks to, the rates for brush. And the reason I brought that to your attention, because I know that we have an issue, we talked about the issue we have with brush, and what we need to do, or what we could do. If you look back at this ordinance, it references, an exhibit and what the charges are for brush disposal. So what you have is the ordinance that was approved back in 2019. At one time, I think, I don't know the history totally, but I know we started allowing for brush disposal to be free. I think, again, that's where it got, I would say it probably got out of hand. And so, anyway, this is what was in place in 2019. If the council wants to move forward and adopt something similar to this, it's under, I'm gonna read this. It says,
Brush disposal.
an ordinance repealing and replacing any previous ordinance passed established certain regulations and rates to be charged with the disposing of brush at the City of Pearsall's waste collection station, authorizing the city manager to implement, administer, and enforce the regulations and rates. And then it references a disposal fee schedule, and it references an Exhibit A. In Exhibit A, what you find is brush dumping fees of $3 per pickup load. You have $10 for trailers up to 16 feet, $20 for commercial vehicles larger than 16-foot trailers but smaller than 18-wheelers, $50 for 18-wheelers and larger vehicles. Then you have free brush dumping will be allowed for the first 2 pickups or 1 trailer up to 16 feet during designated annual or semi-annual. I think this last phrase.
What we need to know is how much the pickup cost us for the brush. In order for us to determine the rate of our brush pickup, is that we can't just say, because right now, when George Colossal was mayor, that was a long time ago. So he did $3 a load for a back of the truck.
Yeah, and
I think they based it on what it was to cost us to dispose of it, I think we have to come into how we figure that price. I don't wanna
I
guess
agree.
at it.
I
A
agree.
lot of people utilize our disposal center for brush. We need to make sure it's a fair amount and that we're not making anything extra
Mhm.
and that we're making enough to
Mhm.
cover the disposal of the brush.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have that cost?
You know, here's an idea. This is an ordinance, I mean, we have a problem.
Yeah, we have a problem.
They're dumping. This is an ordinance, we don't have to vote on it, it's in place. Why don't we install this and then next meeting, get that information? I mean, we can activate this now.
Yeah, fair.
Even though, and then next meeting, we can get that information and make it
Yeah,
better.
that's perfect, but I have a question for Bobby, if I can.
Fire
With
away.
the same thing as what the mayor has just disclosed, because we need to open up our disposal area. Could we, and if the council agrees, if we can go ahead and approve this ordinance with negotiation done by our city manager for the cost of the disposal per vehicle,
Mhm.
that is sufficient enough sufficient enough for the cost of a resident to dispose of,
Mhm.
that we're not losing money, so we don't have to bring this back. He can go to his office tomorrow and he can start to, find out how much it's gonna cost for us to dispose of it and set a price. Because we don't wanna make money off of this, we wanna give this service to the taxpayers, but we don't want for us to pay for it.
I understand, but I think for a sense, I understand that you don't wanna make no money on it, but again, we have to kind of treat this as a business because we have to create some kind of revenue. Because as the brush disposal stays there, there's inflation. And even though today it might cost us $10 to dispose that pickup truck, 2 years from now or a year from now, it might cost us $15 or $20. Plus, we have personnel out there that continuously move the
Yeah, no, but
the
we
brush.
take all that to consideration, Councilman, is that so we can get the ball rolling, is that we take this into place, and we also consider what it costs for us to remove it.
Both of these are good points. I'm gonna defer to our attorney for your question.
Okay.
It is not an action item on our agenda, so what can we do to get things going now?
Cause it's already in place, this is in place. This ordinance is in place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm saying, let's bring it back to the table, and let's start discussing it, but let's put numbers on it, because personally, $3 as a truckload, I mean, that doesn't.
Nobody's wanting to keep
It's
that
not,
price.
this ordinance is not in place. Remember, we
Okay.
rescinded,
It's not.
this was, we were actually charging, we've been allowing the brush company for free. So we've been,
So
there has
what did
been
we
no
go
charge.
by to allow that to go for free? Do we have an
It
ordinance?
was an ordinance, I believe that was, I don't remember what the ordinance, but I think it was allowed for free brush dumping.
I probably was part of that,
Okay.
but, just saying.
I didn't wanna say that, but.
I mean, it's-
Whatever I've done, I say it, I don't care.
I mean, I say,
So, but my thing is, we gotta open this up.
Yes.
I don't wanna go to the people, I'll go to the people and say, hey, we have it closed because we still wanna negotiate, you got another 2 weeks, and I'll put it out there.
and you know,
Because
another
I'm
thing,
tired of getting the
I'll
phone
say, I'll
calls.
say this too as well. You know, what could also be in your favor is you could call Hondo, you could call,
But that's what I'm saying, if we let him
Dilly.
negotiate,
yeah, you call Dilly, call Hondo and see what they're charging.
Yeah.
Okay, let's, Bobby, tell us what we can do.
This is really, I mean, you both are correct. I mean, the way I'm hearing you, you're saying the same thing. The courts have had to address this issue on multiple occasions because a lot of times cities set rates that have no relation to the cost of
Exactly.
providing those services. The courts have held consistently that you have to establish a basis for whatever you charge, and essentially because you are a city and you're not in the business of making a profit by definition, the charges have to be reasonably related to the cost of providing that service.
Right.
But, as Councilmember Leal had mentioned, as a part of determining that cost, you really have to roll up your sleeves and determine
Yeah.
what is it really costing in terms of, be it machinery,
employees.
manpower, equipment, administrative support, including, if you're talking about machinery and equipment, you're having to look at, okay, then what about reserve for the depreciation expense, that is replacement of that equipment. All of that is taken into account, and unfortunately, when you talk about calling other cities, that provides information that is useful in what they're
Back.
charging. But the city's responsibility still is to come up with its own calculations, because that also supports your ability to explain to your citizens, your residents, as to why it costs what you're charging.
And that's something that we came to when we were charging the surcharge. There was no explanation where it was coming from. We just gotta be able to make sure that we go and tell people, this is why your truckload costs $20. If they ask for an open records, or if they wanna know why we came up with this price, we have to have, we cannot make money because of the entity that we're in.
Right.
We can cover our costs.
Right. And you know, the reason you need to explain it is because unless you're getting money from the federal or state government, which is still your money anyway, it just goes around in a circle.
Yes.
Everything that you charge is still coming out of everybody's pockets. So it's the school, the county, the ESD, the city, the federal government, state government, everybody is constantly reaching into your pockets. So it's just a way, you're always paying for it, but it's a way of explaining to your residents why the cost is what it is. But it relates to those individual items that you discussed, Councilwoman Rodriguez, and that Councilman Leon discussed,
Yes.
which is what is it actually costing us? Whatever it costs us, the real cost, including a reserve for replacing the equipment that we're gonna need on an ongoing basis, whatever that number is, a little bit of administrative overhead, which staff can provide, that should be the cost as determined by whatever the activity is going to be based on volume and frequency, et cetera. But it really does have to be a calculation coming from your staff.
Okay, council, we will do this, we will have this, can we do it on this, by the next meeting on Wednesday?
We could have I do want to point out a couple, council member had a question, I believe.
I was gonna ask you, Mr. Reyes, do you have anybody already that's gonna come pick up the?
Yes, part of our discussion has been with the Republic, and we hope to get you that contract as well, hopefully this coming month. Part of our discussion with them is providing this service, similar to what we're talking about, to do it 6 times a year for free. Now, with that, that's what we're saying is if we can do that and allow for dumping 6 times a year for free, do we need more service than that? You know, because I know people may want to go out there on a daily basis. Again, I don't know how much people dump or how often they dump, but that's one of the things is if we're truly trying to cut costs and incorporate it into an existing contract that we're currently paying for. If we do that, then we can say, hey, look, you can go and dump out there X amount of times per year for free, as much as, what I'm proposing into the contract is to dump as much as you want. And I hope, I think they're gonna come back with some sort of a counter to my request, limiting us to the number of containers, because what I believe Dilly's doing is they're putting this brush in a container,
They're doing it
and
quarterly.
they're charging it, yeah. And you have different, I've called Dilly, I've talked to, I believe, Floresville, was it Floresville, Durdenton, but nonetheless, there's some that actually go and actually, they have a completely different operation. They dispose of this, through different methods. Yeah, I'll just say that their operations are different, but Dilly does, I believe they hire and pay Republic for a container. They pay for the container until it fills up, and then they get, whatever. Our charge would be, okay, we'll find a way to compact that container to as much brush as possible, if that's what we decide to do. So we're gonna have somebody out there from the staff doing that, and trying to find a way to do it that way. My goal and our hope is to, again, to get this brush to where we're not having to say, hey, you have to pay, you taxpayer, you can come and dump, certain time of the month. I would recommend to the council that we not allow for, dumping any day of the week. I think my recommendation and suggestion is you limit it, similar to what was done in 2019. If you look at 2019, it says free brush dumping will be allowed for the first 2 pickups or 1 trailer up to 16 during designated annual and semi-annual city cleanups. I'm saying that we would offer that more often if we can agree, Republic can agree with us. And still be able to keep the cost down. If somebody wants to go dump out there on a given day, then yeah, there has to be a fee for whatever days that they're, whenever they're gonna dump. The other schedule that I gave you did come from a city, and this actually came from Mr. Snowden, our rate consultant. He gave me this little handouts on page 76. It's up there, the cost is